must have top spot in your heart. Jesus must have the top spot in your heart. Now, people throughout time have always struggled with that. They've always struggled with making God the number one position in their heart, their soul, depending on how you want to define it. And listen, he expects that. How do I know that? Because, now keep your finger here, we'll be back here in a little bit. But we're going to go all the way to the front of the Bible, 5th chapter, 5th book of the Bible, Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy, the 5th chapter. Now, there's two different places that the law of Moses, the Ten Commandments are given. The first place the Ten Commandments are given is Exodus 20, and that's they're all standing on Mount Sinai. And the mountains got the smoke and the lightning and the thunder and the earthquakes. And God verbally commands all of Israel. All of Israel heard the first 10 commandments. You have to read this carefully. But Moses didn't go up there. He told Moses to go down and tell her. He speaks this, and the people of Israel went, I tell you what, Moses, why don't you go find out what else God wants? We'll just stay here. They didn't want to hear God. So he goes up there, grabs those tablets, had the finger of God. How mad would you be to throw something down that God had written? He gets down there, they're having a blasted crazy orgy party. And he takes these two stones written by the hand of God and throws them down on the ground. Wow. I'd have treated him kind of carefully, personally. But Moses was really, why? Because they had heard God give this proclamation of what he expects of them. And they blew it. So 40 years they've been out in the desert. They've been 40 years out in the wilderness. That whole generation has died, except for those who were 19 years of age and younger. And Moses reminds them again of what they're expected to do. Here's the first 3 commandments. Deuteronomy chapter 5, starting verse 6. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. Commandment number 1, verse 7. You shall have no other gods before me. That's number 1. Number 2. You shall not make for yourself an idol in the form of anything in heaven above or on earth beneath or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of their fathers to the 3rd and 4th generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. Commandment number 3. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord your God, for the Lord will not hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. Then there's the Sabbath, and then we have the 6 more that deal with one another. Verse 3, get your relationship with God right. Put him in the number 1 spot. Don't share that spot with anybody. These were a bunch of these people, I don't know how many, certainly tens of thousands of them, men and women. They had come out of slavery in Egypt. They had seen the 10 commandments. They had walked on the dry land through the middle of the Red Sea. They had walked out. Remember how they used to eat? It's called manna. You got to remember, he says, what's for dinner, Ma? Manna. And they walked out the back door of the tent, and it was laying on the ground. You just gathered it up and put it in a bucket and took it back. Don't take much. Don't take any more than 1 day at a time, because by the evening it would turn into worms. Except on the Sabbath, on Friday, you took 2 days' worth, and it was all good. How cool is that? They had been for 40 years. We're told that the sandals never wore out. 40 years. What kind of shoes were they making? Man, my shoes, I don't want to get a year out of them. That's why I got 20 pair, right? No, I don't get into that. But folks, Joshua becomes the leader after Moses. Joshua had seen all these miracles. Go to Joshua, the 24th chapter. It's the very next book after Deuteronomy. Joshua's been leading them for these years. It's time for Joshua to retire. This is Joshua's retirement speech. In Joshua chapter 24, here's what he says. We got this little plaque on our wall next to our back door, so come over and see it sometime. Somebody gave it to us for a wedding present, I think. Chapter 24, starting verse 14. Now fear the Lord and serve him with all faithfulness. Throw away the gods of that your forefathers worshipped beyond the river and in Egypt, and serve the Lord. But if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourself this day whom you will serve, whether the gods your forefathers served beyond the river, or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you are now living. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. The King James Version. But as for me and my house, we'll serve the Lord. That's back door. See, that's the key here. Miracle after miracle. All the plagues. Beating nations up bigger than them. Taking their land away from them. They cities that had everything. All they had to do was take the people out, and the cities were all made. The walls were all made. The vineyards were all planted. They took over